Avululwandle.
Amakhwene sidwasa nanisidwangube. Yangena inkonyana yohlanga. Angena madoda umntana ntombi isikamageba. Angena madoda isisukusuku sikasandile. Vumani kaloku nina mabandlako wethu. Thina ixelela imbali yeli lizwe. Ayihlonitshe madoda le ntaba kandoda. Isenyamfunyamfu ligazi lemfazwe zelizwe. Xa behomohodi laphume esandleni. Kaloku madoda besilapha kule mihlaba. Sizolile kambi siziba zetyhume. Sizolele wena mzukulwana kasandile. Avululwandle.
Please be seated. Welcome to this official opening of the Jubilee Tower. It's going to be a bit of a long ceremony, so gentlemen and ladies, just prepare yourself for a lot of fun, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a celebration of fun. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Hall. I'd like to welcome our King Sandile. Welcome. And thank you for being here with you and your council. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Hall and her two sons, Peter and Malcolm, representing the late Alan Gray and Mrs. Gray. Alan Gray matriculated here in 1953. I'd like to welcome Mr. Trevor Webster, our guest of honour, and his wife Anne. Mr. Rian Bishop, the headmaster of Selborne Primary and members of his staff. Mr. Andrew Dewar and member of his staff. Mr. Angus Pringle, chairman of the primary governing body and his fellow members. Mr. Derek Brietsky, chairman of the college governing body and his fellow members. The various trustees of the Greyhound, the Whippet and the Foundation Trust. Mr. Andy Reeves, who is the guest speaker today. And Mr. Jed Webber from Smale Architects, who designed this beautiful structure. And Mr. Ian Moss, who spent literally years project managing this. And I think the time that he took to manage it has been converted into years. I think he's also aged quite seriously in that time. The last welcome is to the young men of Selborne. May you enjoy this ceremony. It may be a bit long, so prepare yourselves. But it will be a significant day you will remember for the rest of your lives. It will set you apart from other Selbornians when you can say, I was there at the unveiling of the Jubilee Tower. May I be so bold as to say this is the official launch and start of our 150-year birthday bash. Although we turn 150 next year, it's great that we can start warming up now already. And how better to start with a brand new building and a unique concept that will grow into a wonderful new tradition. So welcome everybody and enjoy the start of our next journey. Could I call on Prince Nkosana Burns Ngomashe to introduce our king?
Xa sizawubulisa ikumkani ndizawucela onke amadoda ame ngenyawo. Onke amadoda abangasiva isiXhosa nibatolikele. Sizawukhahlela kathathu, sikhahlele ikumkani. Avululwandle. 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 Singahlala phansi. Program director Your Majesty King Vululwandle Sandile, the 10th king of the Rowwe kingdom. I have been advised that there is only one president in this gathering. So in following the protocol, I will extend my greetings to His Excellency, the President, President Swundla, the headmaster of the school, Mr. Dewa, chairman of the school governing body, members of staff, the guest of honor who has just spoken very well, but above all, let me greet the most important members of Selborne community, and those are the students. You are most important precisely because this historical, colossal edifice called Selborne College, especially those who are doing matric, as you leave the gates of Selborne, you will become the ambassadors of this college. Wherever you are, whatever you do, the contribution you make in the building and reconstruction of the new society, your contribution will be an embodiment of the values against which you were molded by this college. And therefore, you must know that when you do good, it's not only about yourself and your family, but you are also doing good for the Rowwe kingdom. For this school is the alma mater of His Majesty the King, King Sandile. As I introduce him, ndizawusebenzisa ke olulwimi izinyanya eziza kuva xa ndithetha ngalo. Ndithi umaxakaxhali ithole lomdondosho lomaxhaka uza nesizwe umfo kabazindlovu imbishimbishi yenqishingqishi yakulombede nakulombombo uwabhukubhukuleka ukubheka ebholo nasebhele sisizukulwana sikavelile uncithe mdaka yingonyama isilwe sikumkana kumahlathi kahoho siye kubhukazana kanti intaba kaMqwazi uyigxeleshile kuba kaloku isijorha sikanothondo inyoka emnyama ecanda iziziba usayama ngentaba kaMqwazi ingweka Fordyce emthunzi yazibetha intonga kwakhala uFordyce wakhulelwa likratshi wathi etyakatywe ngumkhondo kaMaqoma wathi uhlaselwe yingwe. Ndithetha ke ngovelile umdaka omkhuthuka yindlovu eyakwaHongo uhala hoyi umzukulwana kaFaku uFaku ngokagonya kaSandile undibuzela amathongo ndiwaxele uSandile kaNgqika ixhalanga elimaphiko amdaka irhamncwe lidla umzili ukhanyela umzukulwana kaMlawu usohahaba untsinga kaNomagwayi wasemba uzamazama ilizwe lizamazama usibala mdakusa mpahla zimfutshane kanti somlingana kube zinkulu uthi zimsitha amadolo amamkasijeke uthi ubutsolo bentonga urharhabe ngokaphalo katshiwo kangconde katogu kancwangu kasikhomo katshawe kankosi yamntu kamalangana kaxhosa kamnguni kantu zalwa kakuhle lekwekwe izalwa intombi yakulo bhejane ephuma esiqiweni kade bekuvalele kabhekuzulu umdlokombane vuka udla amadoda kaBishop Khali isizukuzuku selembe leqamanye malembe ngokukhalipha inkomo zikajama zikandaba zikamageba yikumkani ke yesisizwe sikarharhabe avululwandle avululwandle avululwandle. From now going forward as Selborne, you must know that wherever you are, if you are asked a question, where do you come from? Tell everyone that I am from the Kgakgabe kingdom, a kingdom that fought 9 frontier wars in 100 years. And it is out of that sense of fortitude that this kingdom is all embracing to everybody, so that those who were enemies yesterday, today they work as a family in the reconstruction of a new society based on democratic values. Those values which at the heart of them promote freedom, promote equality, and promote human dignity. And we believe that His Majesty is here. We will now form part of the Selbornian history, so that together we are able to place this college at its rightful historical significant position in it. You must understand that 2 nations have been brought together in terms of its inception. It was founded by German Pastor Muller, and in the course of history, this name, it assumed it out of the British and or English history. So in Selborne, you have both the Germans and the British. Over and above that, you now belong to the Kgakgabe kingdom. Thank you very much.
I don't think today could have been scripted. Now, as I said earlier on, this is an absolute celebration, and I think it's taking on a magnificent form. I'd like to now get to the stage where we unveil the foundation stones. The first person I'd like to call on is our King. Your Royal Highness, would you like to come and say something? And then I'll take you to your stone and we can unveil it.
Honored guests, the headmaster of Selborne College, Mr. Dewar, and the president of the Old Selbornian Association, Mr. Siwundla, and Mr. Gunn, who was my headmaster. I think I did see you somewhere. So, to the teachers, parents, family, friends, and most importantly, the scholars. I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ. I'm very humbled to be invited to such an important celebration to this great school. A school which has such a rich history, a history which I am proud to be part of. For me, this is a huge day. I'm thankful for Mr. Dewar and Mr. Siwundla for reaching out to the kingdom and extending an invite for us to be here. It means a lot to me. Ladies and gentlemen, what I have to say is not much because the prince who spoke before me said basically quite a bit of what I was going to say. He helped me in a way. So what I can assure you guys is that the relationship between Selborne College and the Amakgakgabe Kingdom, from today onwards, it's only going to strengthen. Me having been part of this family, yes, I am a product of this great school. I arrived here 2008 during grade 10. And I matriculated in 2010. Although I was only a part of the Selborne family for a short period, I have a lot of good memories being here and a lot of life lessons I learned from this great institution. And I see quite a few teachers who taught me are still here. I think I saw Mr. Grant. I saw Mr. Viv. Mr. Viv, just so you know, was one of the teachers who I was most scared of. Him and Mr. Taylor. But Mr. Taylor, I hear, retired last year. I was terrified of those two. Your headmaster, Mr. Dewar, so chilled at the time, was my maths teacher. And I'd always look forward to going to his classes because all the cricket players would just keep him talking about cricket and we'd just have a free period. But that's of course if Mr. Dewar was in the mood to talk about cricket. Otherwise it was always work, work, work. And myself, I was actually in his classes a bit lazy actually, but I think I had that attitude of, and I know some of you students do have it, of saying, if I get over 50%, I'm good. But Mr. Dewar didn't take that. He always pushed me to do better. And I respect him for that. He really cared about his students. Never gave up on me. Anyway, because Selborne College has such good teachers, if you go anywhere, boys, Selborne boys are known for respect. Anywhere in the country you go and you say you're from Selborne, Selborne boys are known for respect. They're well-mannered, disciplined, neat, and they are proud boys. They're good at their sport. And at the time in East London, they were known for making all the girls go crazy. I don't know about now, but in my time, all the girls used to go crazy about Selborne boys. One of the things the teachers here trained me to do was how to think independently. I also learned how to express my analysis and opinions clearly in writing and speech. I'm going to ask you guys to forgive me for a bit, but this is something I feel I have to emphasize to all the black boys who are part of this Selborne College family. Some of you don't realize how fortunate you are to be studying in such a fancy, good school like this. A lot of black kids in the townships and rural areas whose families can't afford to send their children to these type of schools. They only dream about coming to schools like these. So I hope none of you are playing with the wide range of opportunities that you get to come across while studying here at Selborne. Whether it's in class, culturally, or on the sports field. Your parents work too hard for you guys to come mess it up and fail classes and just mess around and drink and all of those things. Your parents work too hard. So respect the teachers because they do care about you guys. Now, if I get to just the matriculants, you're about to write your finals. This is the last hurdle, the championship rounds. I just ask that you structure your daily activities according to your preference, obviously. There's something I want to say. I can't even remember the teacher who advised us about the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Yes, things will not always go your way, but you shouldn't give up. Because it might so happen by the time you give up, that's actually the time when things are starting to fall in place for yourself. Sometimes you'll see other learners with a lot of study material than you, who take notes more than you in class. That doesn't mean you should be intimidated, but you should prepare yourself to the best of your ability and stay focused. Some of you already think that you won't make it through this matric. But by thinking that and feeling that way, you're undermining God's power. God who always has had your back till this day. God who has given you strength, the strength and the mind to come this far in your life. So you just have to keep the faith and trust that God is with you all the way. Good luck, gentlemen. I thank you.
I would like to welcome Mr. Trevor Webster, our guest of honor. I must add here that I have been told I may not talk longer than the guest of honor. So I have had to reduce my introduction of him substantially. There is so much I could say about him. One often hears of special people who have played a unique and outstanding role not only in education but also in their community. These people are spoken of in awe, and so we are blessed to have one of those very special people in our community. A man who went to Selborne, who could have excelled in any profession he chose, but chose to become a teacher, one who would eventually impact on thousands of lives. I want to emphasize the figure thousands. He was a teacher and a headmaster for over 30 years? 40 years. 40 years. So you can do the sums in a quiet moment and realize that it was thousands that he's impacted on. But more than that, he is a passionate historian and has written a number of books and other publications. Two history books that I need to mention specifically are that he co-authored a book, Bearers of the Palm, 50 years ago. That was significant. And then in 2014 wrote the magnificent publication, The Black and White, almost 50 years later. He compiled the magnificent marble plaques you see today, directed the walkways, and integrated the story of Selborne yesterday, today, and tomorrow into our Jubilee Tower. I think Oliver Goldsmith was speaking about Trevor when he wrote this Village Schoolmaster, and the following rings particularly when he says, "While words of learned length and thundering sound amazed the gazing rustics ranged round, and still they gazed, and still the wonder grew, that one small head could carry all he knew." We look forward to your talk, Trevor.
MC Gwyn Bassingthwaite, I'm proud to be your past teacher. Headmaster Andrew Dewar, thank you for your support. Kumkani Jonatlolo Vandla Sandile, 10th King of the Kakabi Kingdom, I salute you for your presence here today. Mrs. Zelda Hall, thank you very much for the generosity of Alan's benefaction here. Ladies and gentlemen, students. Off and on, my family has been connected with this school since the 1890s, when my grandfather taught with Pastor Muller in College Street. And then I and my brother went here. My sons went to Selborne, and I've been privileged to be asked to speak today. I enjoyed the centenary 50 years ago, and it's wonderful to be involved in the 150th today and next year. And my great nephew, James Lang, is a pupil here at the school. So I cover almost 130 of the 150 years. My family does. Before us stands the Selborne 150th Jubilee Tower, to be opened today in anticipation of our 150th anniversary next year, 2022. This fine monument was conceived by old Selbornians, financed by old Selbornians, and implemented by old Selbornians. Under the auspices of the Jubilee Planning Committee, with Gwyn Bassingthwaite as chairman, Jed Weber as architect, and Ian Moss as project manager, with the support of the headmaster, Andrew Dewar. This project is an example of the goodwill old Selbornians have for their alma mater. Both the vision and the detail are outstanding. Today, this tower is awe-inspiring. In years and generations to come, it will gain tradition, sentiment, and further value. You matrics, which are the matrics? You matrics will have watched progress with interest during the last 2 years and wondered whether you had missed being able to ring the bell. But this project was started when you were in grade 9 and has been nurtured to become the imposing structure you see before you. By opening today, the school has made this Jubilee feature include both the 21 and 22 matric classes, so that both grades will have lifelong memories of participating in the opening of the school's heritage journey. The War Memorial, Bob, features the sculpture of a soldier, symbolic of the sacrifice of old Selbornians, with the poignant message, "We will remember them." The Jubilee Tower before us, on the other hand, is also a symbol, a different symbol. that of the iconic journey of our school growing to maturity in a society that has sometimes limited and sometimes elevated its vision. The opening of the school to all races against the backdrop of apartheid prejudice and pressure was pivotal, as it gave the school hope for the future and has made our 150th Jubilee inclusive and optimistic. Since 1994, democracy has allowed us hope for the future. The Jubilee Tower symbolizes the appreciation of the present generation for the 1.5 centuries of education against the backdrop of a country in conflict. And this tower binds all Selbornians in time, past and present, in space, here and elsewhere. And so this monument can unite our vast community. There are 6 dimensions to this 150th Jubilee Tower. The first 3 is the tower itself. The building was started 5 months ago on the 13th of May this year, when Grelung Erasmus, our custodian, turned the first sod. And the tower stands erect and proud at the heart of the Selborne campus, connecting the iconic symbolic monuments of the War Memorial, erected a century ago in recognition of the First World War dead, and the Memorial Stadium, built half a century ago in recognition of the Second World War dead. Secondly, the bell is a most beautiful church bell. It was cast in Glasgow, Scotland, by John C. Wilson Foundry in 1881. It was used in the Eastern Cape, quite possibly in a church in East London. The owners were very pleased for the bell to go to Selborne and to be part of a new tradition. They wish all who ring the bell, sorry, and who hear its tolling, great joy. And the bell will be rung as part of the orientation of new scholars to become Selbornians, part of the farewell to matrics at valedictory, and it will be rung on special occasions like today. The ringing of the bell constitutes commitment by the individual to the Selborne community. In the interior of the tower is an extract of the poem by John Donne on the universality of death. Death comes to everyone. We are all connected and enriched by our humanness. And Selborne is impoverished when anyone dies. The poem. For whom the bell tolls, no man is an island entire of itself. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And the word Ubuntu, I am because we are, also shows our humanity, our relationship one with another. The third item, the indigenous garden before us. It has an atmosphere of natural elegance with drinking fountains, benches, walkways, in addition to the 2 succulent tree aloes and the 4 wild green plum trees. The soil has ground cover bordered by a succulent hedge of spekboom. And spekboom is called the wonder plant, as it absorbs carbon dioxide, is water-wise, easy to propagate, edible, and easy to grow. Our indigenous garden reminds us to live in harmony with nature. to conserve our natural resources and to sustain our environment. And our other three items deal with our heritage, with the school's history. And they are the 4 walkways, the keystones at head height or above head height, the foundation stones at ground level, and the plaques with the inscriptions on them. The first walkway deals with the 19th century, and it indicates our foundation in 1872, and is under the foundation stone to be unveiled by our 2 headmasters today. And the walkway reads, commitment. After all, if one is going to go on a journey, as we have for 150 years, you need commitment. But it is to our schooling and to our constitution. And so our heritage journey starts by committing ourselves to the South African Constitution. We, the students and staff of Selborne College, recognise the injustices of the past, honour those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our school, and believe that Selborne College belongs to all who study and work here, united in our diversity. May God protect our school. We recognise the commitment of Pastor Muller, who succeeded on the 13th of February 1872 to establish a school in Grace Chapel, Panmure, where the City Hall is now, for the education of the children of the immigrant German farmers. His legacy of a dedicated, disciplined teacher who regarded the best means of training is still the pure Word of God, was the impetus to grow from a humble beginning to become the Selborne College we celebrate today. These early days were harsh and simple, and the students worked hard. The first Dutch scholar, Gustav Muller, passed as the first boy in the colony. The second walkway covers the early 20th century, with the keystone 1907 and being the date of our being named Selborne College. And it is to be unveiled by the chairman of the governing body, Derek Britsky, on behalf of the 5th Earl of Selborne. And the caption on the walkway is confidence. When one is growing to maturity, after commitment comes confidence, so that you can cope with the challenges. The school moved to Southernwood as a boys' school and was named Selborne College after the 2nd Earl of Selborne, who helped to unite the Boer republics and the British colonies to form the Union of South Africa. The boys were reminded that their conduct should measure up to what he would expect of them. And along with suburban growth, and after 50 years, the school moved for the 4th time to Lucan Road, emphasising that no matter where the buildings moved, the boys are the school. Returning home from the Second World War, old Selbornians fully realised that peace on earth and goodwill to all men is the higher purpose for society than fighting wars. The third walkway, the latter half of the 20th century, with keystone 1972, our centenary, under the foundation stone to be unveiled by Mrs. Zelda Hall on behalf of her brother, old Selbornian Alan Gray, with the caption, courage. One won't get anywhere in life without that quality. And service to our country. And it's recognised by the War Memorial to honour old Selbornians who sacrificed their lives for their country. Our school motto, Parma Virtuti, the reward to the brave, recognizes courage both in principle and action, and is, along with the War Memorial, central to the heritage of Selborne College. The War Memorial has become the heart of the school, inspiring our annual Founders' Day. As Mark Andrews said, I will always associate myself with three things for as long as I live: my family name, my Springbok history, and the fact that I'm an old Selbornian. The importance of a positive attitude was pointed out. Selborne is a great school because you believe it to be a great school. And the fourth walkway, 21st century, with Keystone 2022 next year. Under the foundation stone to be unveiled by Kumkani, 10th King of the Karabi Kingdom, Old Selbornian, King John Okolo Sandile, is hope. At the ceremony of the key, custodian leadership is passed on from the present generation to the next. And Alan Paton pointed out that leaders should be humble. If I, your Lord and Master, can wash your feet, then you ought to wash the feet of others, said Christ. Democratic inclusivity started with the positive parent vote on the 31st of October 1990 to open the school to students of all races. And then the national democratic elections of 1994 reinforced national stability. By building the 150 Jubilee Tower, the school declares hope for the future, as no matter where we may be, we are and always will be Selborne College. More important than the site of the buildings are the quality and stamp of the boys. A good school adds something to us that no one can hereafter take away, not in the form of information, but in the form of formation. The inscriptions on the plaques on the walkways start with an adaptation of the Constitution, in which the students of Selborne College recognise the injustices of the past and believe that Selborne College belongs to all, united in our diversity. Our South African democracy has led to equal opportunities and equal recognition to all. But that is not enough. We as citizens, as leaders of society, have the responsibility to create a society in which social justice becomes the norm. And so, before us are the iconic moments of our heritage journey of 1.5 centuries. The old Selbornian President, Khomani Sifundla, declared, "I am black, I am white, I am a Selbornian." Therefore, in confident hope, we acclaim our school by shouting, "This is my school, Nanseke is Selborne."
That was astounding. Thank you, Trevor. We are now going to unveil the first stone.
madoda intshinga kanomagwayi wasempo uzamazama ilizwe limzamazama ungubeza inkuluthi zomlingana ungubeza inkuluthi zimfihla amadolo kanti zomlingana ham kasitheketshe emadoda mayikhunjulwa le mini emadoda bethana ingwali lemirhubhe khaningqungqe ningqishe nenjenje bizani intombi namatyhongo madoda kombelwe yole kaloku imphala madoda izotyiwe yabhalwa namhlanje amadoda sigqiba iminyaka yenkulungwane sibona imihlola kulo mhlaba karharhabe hayi kodwa bekumelwe avululwandle atala wote mntwana omhle.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would now like to call on Mr. Peter Hall to to read a message from Mrs. Gray.
Royal Highness King Zandile, the guest of honour, here we go, yeah. Chairman of SGB, the Headmasters, Mr. Bischoff and Mr. Deur, the staff and the boys. I just want to say a huge thank you. We've spent 2 days here and really got to understand what an amazing school this is. We experienced a music experience last night, met a huge amount of people, teachers, and it has been really humbling. And what I've been asked to do and very honoured to do is to read a message on behalf of Mrs. Jill Gray, her family, and just to talk a little bit about Alan Gray, a very inspirational and special person who we've all learnt amazing lessons from. It's an honour and a privilege on behalf of my late husband Alan for our family to have enabled the construction of the Selborne 150 Jubilee Tower. Thank you to all of those whose hard work has made this possible. We hope this tower serves as a reminder to current and future Selbornians of not only the importance of education, but also how vital it is to support one another. Even though we are not with you in person today, I know that Alan is with us all in spirit, and it gives him great joy to be back at Selborne today. Alan matriculated at this great school in 1954. He then went on to Rhodes University and eventually Harvard Business School, where he graduated with distinction. Alan always felt that Selborne planted the seeds of his interest in economics and investments. He was proud to be an old Selbornian, and he will always be an old Selbornian. Education was a passion throughout Alan's life, and he believed it was the one way which anyone could generally improve their standing in life. He believed the product of education and hard work knew no bounds. Alan was a humble man with high integrity and had an abiding commitment to fair play and genuine respect for all people. He was not driven by what anyone said, but rather by the actions they took and the impact they could have. Alan would want all Selbornians to aspire to be the best they can be. He would view attending Selborne as a great start of this journey of making the world a better place. At the time of forming the Alan and Jill Gray Foundation, Alan said, "We consider this both the right thing to do and a small but necessary contribution towards a society full of hope for all humanity. The free enterprise system has done so much for so many, and it behoves the few whom it rewards particularly well to help those less fortunate. My family and I hope this Jubilee Tower will serve as a continual reminder of the Selborne journey and the values to whom all who ring the bell on their own journey of discovery." Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay, at this stage, I'd like to call on Mr. Derek Brietzky to read a message from the 5th Earl of Selborne and then to unveil that stone.
Message from the 5th Earl of Selborne. To be on the brink of celebrating a centenary and a half is a remarkable achievement for Selborne College. Indeed, 1872 was a significant year for Selbornes in more ways than one. It was the year in which my great-great-great-grandfather, Roundhill Palmer, a lawyer and politician, became the UK's Lord Chancellor and was ennobled taking the name Selborne from the village neighbouring the farm he had purchased. Then, as now, Selborne was best known for being previously the home of the parson and father of ecology, Gilbert White, whose Natural History of Selborne has the distinction of being one of the most published books in the English language. As will be well known to Selbornians, Lord Chancellor's son, William II Earl of Selborne, was another politician and statesman who served as High Commissioner for South Africa and Governor of the Transvaal and Orange River colonies, helping to unite the Boer republics and the British colonies to form the Union of South Africa. Much as Roundhill Palmer had earlier rebranded himself Selborne, which resonated with the legacy of Gilbert White, so this school's rebranding as Selborne College associated it with the reputation of an admired conciliator of deep faith who had reached across communities. Having in turn inherited the name of Selborne from my father earlier this year, becoming the 5th generation to hold the title, I look forward to celebrating the joint 150th anniversary of Selborne College and my family's name next year, William Selborne.
Could I now call on the two headmasters, Mr. Dewar from Selborne College and Mr. Bischoff from Selborne Primary, to give their messages.
Today is a particular honour for me. I represent the headmasters and staff of the college that has shown continuous commitment since 1872, when the legendary founder, Headmaster Pastor Miller, established a humble school in the Panmure village. For 150 years, the college has been led by 10 headmasters during periods of conflict, depression, poverty, and wealth. I applaud the heritage moulded by teachers, parents, old Selbornians, and students who have brought us to where we are today. But we do not only applaud our heritage, and we also show hope for the future. Our journey started 1.5 centuries ago as a co-ed junior school, and as we grew, our girls branched off into the Clarendon schools. College Street stayed in North End, and although the primary schools became independent, it retained our name. We salute our neighbour schools against whom we have competed over the many years. Our standards have been lifted by matching ourselves up against equals. Today is a proud moment as we open this 150th Jubilee Tower in anticipation of our 150th anniversary next year in 2022.
Although Selborne Primary became an independent school in 1923, nearly 100 years ago, we have stayed true to the Selborne brand and we value being the brother school to the college. By being included in the ceremony and on this Jubilee Tower, our primary scholars will know, in future, that there is a part of our school here in this Jubilee Tower. I commend the Jubilee Planning Committee for further uniting our schools in this way. I unveil this foundation stone with pride, standing with my brother headmaster. Today is a truly memorable day in the history of our schools. We are proud of our heritage and optimistic to face our future in hope.
Now for the moment we've all been waiting for, the ringing of the bell. The people who ring the bell are representing a part of our community, and I'd like to call on His Royal Highness to come and ring the bell for the nation. Could I ask Mrs. Hall to come and give us a ring on behalf of the Grey Foundation? Thank you. President Savundla, could you come and ring the bell on behalf of all old Selbornians, please? Could I call on the two headmasters to ring it on behalf of the two schools? Okay. Mr. Brietzky, on behalf of Lord Selborne. Okay, we've got the custodians and the head prefects. Come forward, please. Great stuff. Thanks, guys. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for being so patient and sharing in this funful celebration. I'd now like to call on Mr. Dewar to do the acknowledgements.
What a day of celebration this has been. But for a structure like this to take place, there are a large number of people who have played significant roles in erecting this Jubilee Tower, which will stand, hopefully, for another 150 years. I'd like to use this opportunity to show our gratitude and thanks to all those who have made this such a special occasion. First of all, to our benefactor, Mr. Alan Gray. Thank you very much to Mrs. Gray for affording us this opportunity on behalf of Mr. Alan Gray, and also for Mrs. Hall and her sons to be present today. What a magnificent gesture. The project manager and quantity surveyor, QS Quantity Surveyors, the architect, S&P Architects, the contractor, Cascal Construction, plumbing contractor, Aquatech Plumbing, electrical contractor is On-Site Electrical, the structural steel, Benny's Welding, the stonework, Crankshaw Marble and Granite, the landscaping by Evergreen Lawns, the lighting specialists, FLS Lighting, and most importantly, our Selborne historian, Mr. Trevor Webster. It is with special thanks to each of the following individuals I'd like to extend. Once again to Mrs. Gray, who is the benefactor of this project, to Mr. Ian Moss, who's been the project manager from NQS and has overseen this project, together with an associate, Ambete Khubuse, to Mr. Alan Dedrickson, the Selborne estate manager who has managed this process, to Mr. Jed Weber, who is the architect, and I'm sure you'll all agree, has really encapsulated the Selborne College theme and history and architecture. Mr. Brian Schultz and Graham Church, our plumbers. Mr. Andrew Marshall and Sia Dungwe, the electricians. Mr. Bruce Meyer and Keith Kuhn, landscaping. Mr. Fred van der Favor, part of the marble and granite. Mr. Keith Mende, class of 1962, the lighting specialist. Mr. Trevor Webster, class of 1959, as our Selbornian historian. And lastly, Mr. Gun Bassingthwaite, as the chairman of the Jubilee Committee, has led his team superbly well over the past few years to ensure that this moment can be enjoyed by all. Thank you very much.
That brings us to the close of this historic occasion. On behalf of the school, I would like to thank all the guests, I'd invite all the guests to the Emsley Centre for lunch and wish the young men who are involved in sporting events this afternoon all the very best. Thank you.
Humani!